Two sodas spike your liver's fat production by 30% in just 4 hours. That is the same organ alcohol ravages on a Friday night. Which one is actually destroying you faster comes down to a single enzyme with no on-off switch. Inside the liver, fructose takes a shortcut that glucose cannot follow. As soon as it arrives, two transporters, GLUT and GLUT2, rush it into liver cells, where a specialized enzyme called ketohexokinase goes to work. This enzyme does not hesitate. With a high capacity and relentless speed, ketohexokinase phosphorylates fructose into fructose 1-phosphate, using up ATP almost as fast as it is supplied. Unlike glucose, which is tightly controlled by a metabolic checkpoint called phosphofructokinase, fructose slips past this gate entirely. The result is a flood of triose phosphates, the building blocks for fat, entering the next stage of metabolism without any breaks. Researchers like Dr. Kimber Stanhope have shown that this bypass means the liver can convert fructose to fat at a rate that outpaces most other sources. Within minutes, the triose pool swells, setting up the conditions for a rapid burst of new fat creation. De novo lipogenesis. It is a metabolic loophole that leaves the liver exposed long before any symptoms appear. A can of soda seems harmless in the moment, but the story inside the liver is anything but simple. Within 30 minutes of drinking a typical sugary beverage, blood uric acid spikes, an invisible signal that the liver's adenosine triphosphate has been drained by repugnant fructose processing. That uric acid is not just a waste product. It acts as a pro-oxidant, generating reactive oxygen species that stress mitochondria and set off low-level inflammation. Tracer studies show that after a single 75-gram fructose drink, the liver's fat-making machinery ramps up by about 30% in just 4 hours. Now imagine this not as a rare treat but as a daily ritual. NHANES data reveal that the average young adult in the United States consumes over 2 cans of soda a day, delivering nearly 90 grams of fructose, well above the threshold where the liver's fat stores begin to accumulate. Over weeks and months, this daily pattern quietly builds up triglycerides inside liver cells, laying the groundwork for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The process is subtle, with no warning signs at first, but every spike in uric acid and every surge in de novo lipogenesis adds up, moving the liver closer to chronic, sometimes irreversible damage. A round of shots at a party can set off a chain reaction deep inside the liver. Within minutes, alcohol dehydrogenase, ADH, begins converting ethanol into acetaldehyde, a compound so reactive that even a brief spike can damage proteins and DNA. Dr. Ramon Bataller describes acetaldehyde as a molecular wrecking ball, setting off inflammation and scarring even after a single binge. But the real disruption comes from the redox shift. Every molecule of ethanol processed by ADH and then by aldehyde dehydrogenase generates a surge of NADH, tipping the cell's balance away from NAD+, the chemical needed for fat burning. With NADH levels soaring, the liver's ability to break down fatty acids, called beta oxidation, drops by as much as 40% for several hours. Instead of burning fat, the liver starts to stockpile it, assembling new triglycerides while fatty acids back up in the bloodstream. Tracer studies show this bottleneck can last up to 6 hours after a heavy drinking episode. Meanwhile, acetaldehyde lingers, forming sticky adducts with proteins, which the immune system flags as foreign. This acute wave of metabolic stress does not just leave the liver swollen with fat. It lays the first bricks for long-term fibrosis, especially if the pattern repeats. As Dr. Bataller warns, even a single night of heavy drinking can leave a molecular fingerprint the liver struggles to erase. After just a few weeks of steady drinking, the liver begins to adapt in ways that quietly raise the stakes. Cytochrome P452E1, or CYP2E1, is an enzyme that normally sits idle, but with repeated alcohol exposure, its levels climb, doubling after 2 weeks and tripling after a month. CYP2E1 doesn't just help clear ethanol, it leaks highly reactive oxygen species, turning the liver into a factory for free radicals. Each new molecule of alcohol now generates more oxidative stress than the last. Meanwhile, the liver's main antioxidant, glutathione, gets depleted, leaving cells exposed to damage from within. For people with the ALDH2*2 genetic variant, common in East Asian populations, this burden is even heavier, as acetaldehyde lingers longer, amplifying the toxic fallout. The result is a relentless cycle. As CYP2E1 ramps up, so does the risk of lipid peroxidation, mitochondrial injury, and the scarring process known as fibrosis. Over time, what began as a metabolic detour becomes a self-sustaining engine of liver injury. As Dr. Ramon Bataller warns, once CYP2E1 is fully induced, every drink is like pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. Globally, more than 1 in 4 adults now has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Over 25% are living with excess fat in their liver, often without knowing it. That's a silent epidemic, driven mostly by daily sugar intake. In contrast, alcoholic liver disease is less common, but when it strikes, the damage is often severe and fast. A single binge can unleash an oxidative burst that scars the liver in hours. Sugar's impact builds up over months of steady consumption, quietly filling liver cells with fat. The difference is not just in how each substance acts, but in how many people are affected and how quickly the harm appears. Mixing sugar and alcohol doesn't just add up the risks, it multiplies them. Studies show that when high sugar and high alcohol habits overlap, the odds of advanced liver fibrosis triple compared to either one alone. That means a night of sugary cocktails or regular mixed drinks can push your liver over the edge, even if each ingredient seems moderate by itself. The World Health Organization sets clear limits. Keep sugar below 10% of daily calories, and alcohol under 30 grams for men, 20 grams for women. Real change is possible. Clinical trials found that swapping out just 1 soda a day for water cut liver fat by 10% in 3 months. For anyone used to mixing their drinks or reaching for sweetened sodas, the fastest path to a healthier liver is cutting back on both, especially together. Right now, the average person eats over 17 teaspoons of added sugar a day, often without noticing. The real danger is not just in what we drink, but what we normalize every meal.